I'm Kenzie DeHerrera.
And I'm Faye Lyons. And this is Hoofbeat News. Model UN is a club that was recently introduced at FMHS. Ozias has a story.
Here we have Mr. McDaniel, co-head of the Model UN Club. Let's see what he has to say.
The Model UN Club, pretty much Model UN is an academic simulation that pretty much models a United Nations meeting. And this club pretty much just takes that on full force, and eventually we'll be going to some competitions that are held nationwide, but we'll go to one locally in Colorado. So a lot of things that Model UN will do is whatever country we're assigned, so say for example if we were assigned China, we would then need to start doing a lot of research on China, its history, its policies on important events, things like women's rights, education, reproductive health and reproductive rights, and a whole list of others, whether it comes to the care for the elderly or world events, maybe wars or other economic events that might be going on. We need to know the policy and what that country would take on. So it's a lot of research and a lot of heavy lifting on the students' part. We had a couple of students that came to Miss Carpenter and I, who also started this club with me, saying they really wanted the opportunity to have a Model UN because they came from a school that had it and were curious as to why we didn't have it. So we decided to go ahead and start one. Hopefully going to events and then eventually being competitive enough to where maybe we're invited to the national event. That's usually held in a certain location every year. I believe this year it's in Washington, D.C. In past years it's been in New York. So it just depends. There are about 5 or 6 in the state of Colorado that take place, so we can go to all 6 if we wanted to. But the goal is to eventually hopefully qualify for nationals to be able to go and compete and showcase our students. I think it's just the best way to learn something about yourself and learn something new that's not Fort Morgan, Colorado. We love our community and we love the state, but there's way more to it than just what we know. And I think Model UN allows students to get different viewpoints, hear from different people who have different experiences from them. And it's a lot of collaboration and team building skills, and really it's real world problem solving. We like to think about school as, what does this prepare me for later? Well, this club definitely gives you an idea of how to solve real world problems.
Next we have Joshua Shea, a member of the Model UN Club. Let's see what he has to say.
I've been part of it for a couple days. It looks good for colleges. I think it would be interesting for more people to join. It should be an interesting experience.
If you're interested in joining Model UN, check out room 215 or 209A.
This semester, Hoofbeat had Trenton, Adrian, and Cody join the staff.
Dungeons and Dragons has started back up, and Lupe has a story.
I went ahead and went to D&D Club to see what it was all about. Here's what we know.
I'm Mr. Newens.
I'm Mr. Blake.
And so D&D Club is, on the surface, exactly what it sounds like. It's about playing Dungeons and Dragons, which is a tabletop role-playing game, but there's a lot more to it than that.
One thing, it does involve some maths, and it also is mostly a social experience in which students take on the roles of characters they create and collectively work to solve problems.
Well, we both play individually, and shortly after starting working here, we both realized we enjoy it, and we thought, I can't remember who brought it up first, but we thought, hey, this could be a really fun club to have for students, and so Mr. Blake did pretty much all the legwork in getting it up and running.
We meet on the second and fourth Friday of each month. We meet in my room, 209, and Mr. Newens' room, 210.
Yep, 210, right over.
And
right
we meet from pretty much right after school to 6 o'clock.
Mr. Blake and I are the game masters, so we run the game itself. We are in charge of the world building, non-player characters, things of that nature, keeping things running.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to bringing in new members, we have a process for that. Basically, they start with a
Probationary
period, the new P word, where they observe, watch, see how things are done, and then get to participate. And if things go well and we feel like there'll be a good fit, then we bring it to the rest of the group and vote. And we typically vote on pretty much anything that will affect the group as a whole. So
yeah, we
everyone's
do. We do have a limit on 16 active members, but people are always welcome to come and observe to learn about it. Generally speaking, we take if a spot opens up, a student can always ask myself or Mr. Newlands if a spot's available. And then we will begin the probationary process. They'll observe 1 week, and then they'll make a character, and they'll have their 2-session probationary period.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have, the books. We have the resources.
We generally we pretty much provide everything.
Yeah, the most you would need is arguably a pencil, and obviously we're teachers, so we have that covered too.
Yeah, we provide character sheets. We have dice people can use. We have the books. Up on our Canvas page, we have our copy of the player's handbook, which is the rule book for the game, and also our book covering the setting of our game. So pretty much anyone who is interested, they can come and get help, and we're more than happy to walk you through the process of creating a character.
Interviewed the president of D&D Club. Here's Leland Cooley.
Leland Cooley, club president. The D&D Club is Dungeons & Dragons. It's a fantasy game that we all like to assemble and play. We're typically open every 2 weeks, but that's only to members who we have in. D&D as a game can only house so many players, so we have a limited selection each year of who we can get in. D&D is Dungeons & Dragons. It is a role-playing game where you roll dice and act out in a fantasy world. We have 2 teams, Sword and Shield team. Given Johnny Prouty, who was part of Yearbook last year, he was also a member of the club. He was able to get us a lot more members, so we had an influx, so we created 2 teams.
Teachers around the school are getting new Promethean boards. You may see them around more in the next couple of weeks.
A new horror game, Lethal Company, has taken the internet by storm. Diego has a story on that.
Don't bring it to me! Where are you? And I'm so sorry. Meow! Meow! All of these clips were from Lethal Company, a game that is currently trending, but not all of you may know what the game is, so here's a quick rundown. The game is rather simple. You work for an abusive company sometime in the distant future. Your goal? To find and collect scrap from abandoned planets before your deadline. If you happen to fail the quota, then the company you work for steps in. But these planets are abandoned for a certain reason. Don't stay too long, as this will seal your fate. So you are trying to survive as long as possible despite these unfair conditions. Lethal Company is being primarily made by a one-man team that does get occasional help, Zeekers. This isn't the first horror game he made, as Zeekers made these games. The game is in beta right now, meaning that there are more updates and content being developed for the game right now. So now the review part. I love Lethal Company. The simple task of the game serves well for replaying it. But a thought may have run through your head. If you're replaying it, wouldn't that make the game obsolete as you know where the scrap is and can quickly get it? No, as the scrap is inside these abandoned warehouses, and the inside of these warehouses are randomized every time you land on the planet. You will never get the same warehouse, meaning that there will be a different experience every time you step inside. This randomization also affects the monsters that spawn inside and outside. Even the weather conditions can be randomized. You can have clear weather, to monsters everywhere, to trying to juggle items to avoid getting struck by lightning. This means you can have a peaceful run one day, and then wishing that your suffering will end the next. All these factors play into the game being replayable, then with new monsters, locations, and game modes coming out, that just keeps you returning to the game. Once you sell the scrap, you get money. You can either spend the money on items that will help your survival, or to reach more difficult planets that have more scrap. Dying causes you to lose money. This system is simple and effective and what needs to get done. But the best part of the game is the multiplayer. You can have your friends join in with you, and this can change the game from being a horror game to a comedy game. Because of how simple and cheap the game is, I've had people barely touch the video games play this game and had fun with it. Oh, I never mentioned the price of the game. Just $10. This game is entirely worth the price, but don't just take my word for it.
I guess that it's like really hard for it to get repetitive unless like you just keep playing over and over with the same exact people. But it's fun since a lot of things can happen differently every time you play, and it's just really interesting. Yeah, it's only $10, right? And there's a lot of stuff, and it still hasn't been like fully released yet, and there's still more updates to come, so I think it's gonna be worth it.
If you are able, you should give Lethal Company a chance, especially with friends. It is no surprise that the game is trending.
Out Loud is happening soon. Maddie has the story on that.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Jameson. I wanted to talk a little bit about Poetry Out Loud. So, what is Poetry Out Loud? It's a contest that lets you perform one of your favorite poems by your favorite poet for an audience. Most of the time when you read a poem, it's in a book, and this allows you to actually show what it sounds like, kind of like you would with a song, because you can read the song lyrics, but it actually sounds better when you hear it out loud. And why should you get involved? Because it's a good way to get out there and meet other people who are also interested in things that you're interested in, but it's also a good way to showcase poetry and learn about it and get a chance to perform in front of everyone and share a little bit about who you are through an artistic lens. So how do you get involved? It's really easy. You just tell me that you want to do it, and then I'll write you down on the list and get in touch with you when we get closer to the time. And the official all-school performance will be in the Fort Morgan High School Library, which is Thursday, February 1st this year, and it's going to be at 4:15, so right when school ends. There's usually about 10 to 15 people that are involved in our school competition. So if you're worried about it being huge with all these people watching you, it's not going to be that large. And if you go on to the national level, there are some really great prizes involved. If you win first place nationally, it's $20,000 prize for the student. And we could also get money for the school library too. So, if you want more books, more poetry. And how to prepare. So the best way to prepare is you want to make sure that you pick poems that you're actually interested in. So you need to have 2. So find something that you're passionate about, and then try to memorize just a little bit at a time, a few lines at a time. I also have more tips and tricks if you want to come talk to me about it. I can send you some different YouTube videos and things of people who memorize ridiculously lengthy number sequences and things like that, because there are crazy competitions for that as well. And then this year also they're doing the Poetry Out Loud contest, but if you're not the kind of person who likes to perform out loud, they're also offering Poetry Ourselves is what it's called, and you can submit your own poetry for that. So what's cool about it is you can put your own poem out there up to 50 lines, and it has to be your original poetry, so you can't copy and paste from somebody else. So they don't know who you are, where you're from, anything like that until after they read the poem and they decide who wins, and then the winner will be told, hey, you won this, but you have the opportunity to get your poetry out there, and it could be on social media, it could be in the mass media as well, and it gives you a chance to share what you're about and what you're interested in.
Thanks for that, Maddie. That's all the time we have for this episode.
From all of us at Hoofbeat News, have a great week, FMHS.